Now, should Logic respond to Joyner Lucas? Now, there's been a situation with Joyner Lucas and Logic that's been exploding recently, and I wanted to talk about that. Now, if you have no clue what this whole situation with Joyner Lucas and Logic is about, let me update you. Long story short, back in October 2016, Tech N9ne released a song called Sriracha, and in this song, Joyner Lucas and Logic were both featured in it. Fast forward to May 2017, Joyner Lucas released a remix to Future's Mask Off song where he was taking direct shots at Logic. And in this song, Joyner Lucas was rapping about how Logic is not touching him because his bars on the song Sriracha were extremely weak. And don't you compare me to Logic, go listen to Sriracha. Yeah, that's Amanda To Rhonda, and that's a Benz to a Honda. Those are the lines Joyner Lucas was rapping to show his disappointment with Logic's verse on the song. And that's pretty much the start of the so-called beef, and I'm saying that word extremely lightly because I honestly don't know what to call it other than beef. But as you know, Logic has not responded, not in a tweet, not in an interview, not in a song, nothing. And it's extremely shocking that this situation has gotten to the point where Joyner Lucas is now claiming that Logic stole the idea about using a phone number as a title for his 1-800 song. In a recent interview with Everyday Struggle, Joyner Lucas goes in depth about why he has an issue with Logic. Joyner Lucas talks about how he was in a studio in LA when suddenly Logic's manager appears in the studio. Joyner Lucas decides to play him a couple of songs, and he also reveals the title for his album, which was a phone number. And according to Joyner Lucas, a couple weeks after that, Logic releases his 1-800 song. Now, the details and the accusations Joyner is claiming are pretty straightforward. Joyner Lucas thinks that Logic stole his idea about the suicide song, and Joyner is clearly upset about Logic's verse on Sriracha being rushed and not being good enough for the long wait. And if you've listened to the song, Logic apologizes to Tech himself because he knows that the weight of the verse has been way overdue.
So what's up? Hold up, Tech, I'm sorry for the hold up, but I've been on the road. Shoulda had this verse to your ass a long time ago. When I put that on everything, I ain't had a minute to myself.
But Joyner Lucas even went as far as disclosing really sensitive information about how Logic's relationship with Tech N9ne apparently got ruined because Tech N9ne felt disrespected when Logic sent in his verse for the song Sriracha. Now, that part is hard to confirm considering Logic hasn't even of course responded, and neither has Tech N9ne apart from a small reply to a fan wondering if him and Logic were on good terms. But at the end of the day, that's not something anybody from both parties has even mentioned. But should Logic respond to Joyner Lucas? Yes and no. In a situation like this, I really think it depends on where the response would be coming from. We already know that the type of person Logic is, he never responds to any drama whatsoever. Whether that's someone accusing him of stealing an album trailer like Freddie Gibbs did, or whether that's someone disrespecting him on a personal level like OG Mako did, getting any type of response from Logic is a challenge to say the least. But apart from the behind the scenes stuff that Joyner Lucas touched upon, as hip-hop listeners, who doesn't want to see two great MCs go head to head and take jabs at each other? Of course, friendly jabs. And of course, it doesn't have to be anything serious, meaning it never has to go beyond the extent of music like a lot of other beefs do. Everybody wants to see that competition as long as it doesn't go beyond the music. But one thing I don't agree with is Joyner Lucas deciding to reveal the relationship issues between Tech N9ne and Logic, because that information really has nothing to do with the issue Joyner has with Logic. But we've seen that competitive side from Joyner, and even though the beef seems a little bit personal for him, we really haven't seen that competitive side from Logic. But does that mean that Logic doesn't have that competitive side to him? Absolutely not. And would Logic gain anything from responding to Joyner? Absolutely not. We know the position Logic is in. His 1-800 song single-handedly turned him into a mainstream figure that pretty much everyone recognizes by this time. And although Joyner is starting to grab the attention of a lot of people even outside of the bubble of hip-hop, his buzz is of course not comparable to Logic's. But Joyner's I'm Not Racist song most definitely did put him on the map, and a lot of people are starting to listen to him more since he's gotten a taste of that viral fame. And Logic actually responding to Joyner would further add fuel to Joyner's whole movement. But of course, it wouldn't really benefit Logic personally. But apart from it not benefiting Logic on the fame aspect, what it could do for him is let his fans see another side of him. And there is negatives to him actually doing that, since he'd be going against his whole peace, love, and positivity motto. So I can't really see him making an exception and going against that. At most, I feel like what we could potentially get from Logic is him mentioning this whole situation in an interview, but him recording a track and firing back at Joyner is something that I think will never happen. And some people may look at it from the perspective of Logic shouldn't respond because it's going to reflect negatively on him. Because if he does respond, that means there's a slight chance that he stole Joyner's idea. And I could actually agree with an argument like that, and that's not because I believe that there's a chance that he stole it, just because his 1-800 song had been in the works since at least February. There's actual snippets on the internet of the early stages of the song when it was in the making. So 1-800 existed way before Logic's manager was supposedly in the studio with Joyner and had the knowledge about Joyner's suicide record, because keep in mind, Joyner Lucas said specifically, a couple of weeks go by and there's a suicide record.
Next thing you know, a couple weeks go by, all of a sudden there's a suicide record out, right? 508, the number 1-800, blah, blah, blah. Now I feel saucy as fuck.
And 1-800 by Logic was released April 28th, which was also exactly 1 week before his Everybody album came out. So Logic actually stealing that idea is impossible, since by that time the album was most likely turned in and finished. But at the end of the day, if a response would come from Logic, I would never want it to go beyond the music, which may be hard at this point since Joyner Lucas has already by this time took it further than just a musical aspect and accused Logic of some really big things. But what's your personal opinion on this topic? Do you think that Logic should respond to Joyner Lucas, or do you think that he should not respond to Joyner? And do you think that he stole the idea for the title of his 1-800 song? Definitely let me know in the comment section below and let's have a discussion about this. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This channel is all about bringing together people like you who enjoy music and start a discussion on different topics like this. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed it, follow me on Twitter at BlackieSpeaks, and I'm out.